Iron Lung is written and directed and also starred by Michael Edward Fischbach, or also known as the YouTuber under the alias of Markiplier, and is his directorial debut of the game of the same name, which came out, I think it was back in 2023. I saw this movie with a couple of friends, actually not once but twice. I was invited to see it by a friend of mine, and then a couple of nights later I was invited by couple of other friends to see it again. And these are my thoughts of Iron Lung. So I've never played the game Iron Lung before. I was really not familiar with the game at all. To be honest, I didn't even know about the game's existence until the release of this movie. I know Markiplier. I know some of the projects he's done. I know he was in charge of that infamous YouTube project called Unus Annus, which lasted for a year, and then after a year they completely deleted the channel. I didn't watch that, so I have no idea what that's about, and I think that's kind of the point from what I hear. But anyway, this is a directorial debut, and from what I saw, I was actually quite impressed by what he was able to pull off here. So this was an indie passion project film, funded... I'm not sure if it was entirely funded by Markiplier himself. I think he did get some financial help or some grants from somewhere to make this film possible, but this film took about 3 years to make. I think principal photography went somewhere from early 2024 to the end of 2024, but it took about 3 years to get the whole project up and running and filming and everything. And mostly it's the only actor that you really see in it is Markiplier himself, and also you see this other female character at the very start, which is talking to him through the sub window while he's still above the water, I guess. And there's also a few other characters that speak to him on his speaker while he's down in the blood ocean. So it's a very minimalistic movie. It all takes place in one location, which is the submarine, and you kind of watch him, try to navigate this very scary, dark, unknown place, because it all takes place in a sea of blood, and the lore behind the game is explained in a few brief flashback scenes, and it kind of just gives you enough to just know the surface level of what's going on here, because I think if you go into this movie without playing the game, I think you might be confused about the whole plot structure, how this world is supposed to work, because it is supposed to be a very minimalistic, in the shadows type of movie where there's a whole world out there that you really do not know much of anything about, and you only kind of know it through the character of what was his name again? I think it was Noah or something, but played by Markiplier. And as the movie goes along, he slowly loses his sanity. He starts going insane. He doesn't trust that the people that are speaking to him through the speaker are real anymore. It is sort of solipsistic in a very scary way, which as he slowly goes mad as the movie goes on. It's a very slow-paced movie, which is definitely not everyone's cup of tea. It does go for 2 hours, and it's all inside this one sub. And it does speed up a bit towards the end, but the first act of the movie is very slow, and it does take a while for it to get rolling and for the tension to rise up. But it does go quite hard at the end. I mean, the sub starts flooding with blood, and it's actually revealed that the blood is acidic. There's a drop that lands on Markiplier's head and leads a burn scar. Now this will be a spoiler review, so if you don't want spoilers, I would not continue watching this video. Just go watch it for yourself. But anyway, but that's your warning. I didn't really like the way this movie ended, because it ends with the movie strongly implying that Noah had died as a result of the flooding of his sub, and he just dies like that. And it kind of felt a bit unfair character-wise, because you can see it's explained early on he's doing this job not out of necessity or wanting to, but out of punishment for some criminal history that he had in the past. It's implied that he murdered somebody and he was put in prison for it, and somehow doing this job is somehow an escape from that sentence. But it's pretty obvious to see throughout the entire movie that I don't think anybody deserves a punishment this harsh, because it's very unsettling, it's very scary, and you see him lose his sanity over it. and most of the other people who are interacting with them are very cold and very cruel and very, like, say for one, very without empathy for the consequences of putting a person through a situation like this. There is one female character at the end that does empathise with him and does want him, to get back up and save his life, but obviously from what you see at the end of the film, that's not the case, which is a little bit sad. But anyway, if that's the story of the game, then it kind of makes sense. But I was impressed by how well shot and well directed, and I was actually very surprised of just how good Markiplier was acting in this film. I don't think he has any really previous official acting experience. He probably didn't go to acting school or stuff like that, but he put on a very, very convincing performance, very emotional, and you could really see, like, the fear and the unsettling atmosphere and like the insanity started to set in the character just past like the halfway mark, and it was convincing, and I did really enjoy it. But I guess it was long and it was slow, and there really wasn't that much else going on in the movie. It was just him and the sub, and it's not going to be for everyone, but I for one really enjoyed it, and it's probably the best video game adaptation movie I've seen in quite a while, possibly ever. I mean, like, a lot of video game adaptation movies like Resident Evil and like Mortal Kombat, they're very like cheesy, almost piss takes of the original games, and they're not meant to be taken seriously. Well, this movie was actually meant to be taken seriously from start to finish. It's not a comedic movie, there's no jokes in it, it's very, very dark and serious, so if you're looking for a laugh, I wouldn't recommend this film. But if you're looking for unsettling horror and a really good performance by a single character who kind of carries the entire movie, I think this movie will be up your alley. And for that, I'm going to give it a 7.5. I was very impressed by what I saw. I know just how much time and effort Markiplier put into this movie, and I think he was put under a lot of stress for finishing this movie. So I kind of congratulate him for pulling this off and being able to pull off this project, because you don't see stuff like this being done very often in the film industry, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air. But anyway, that's my review of Iron Lung. If you're interested in seeing it, I highly recommend you go see it. It's basically playing in theatres everywhere now, which is actually really amazing, because it was only meant to be playing in like 60 select theatres in the US alone. For me, an Australian, I watched this in a local Brisbane theatre, so you can really really start to imagine, and see like this is a far-reaching film that is actually being shown all around the globe. So I'm very happy for Mark for what he's achieved. I hope the film does become successful and make him a lot of money, because he deserves it, because this was definitely a tough project to get off the ground and to go through, and it's really cool to see something like this being finished. But anyway, that's my opinion. Hope you enjoyed what I've had to say about it, and as always, take care. Thank you.